From the carnage and chaos of what was the newest circuit on the iRacing server, a super sprint night in Hungary at the Hungaroring in Budapest, the Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries moves across the Atlantic to North America, and specifically to the United States, and even more specifically to the West Coast. The first of 6 weeks where we'll have racing in North and or South America as we head towards the business end of the season. This is round 4 of the Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries, the first leg of the Dragon RC Triple Crown. It is the Long Beach 200. Good evening, everybody. Nice to have your company wherever you're tuning in on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting all around Australia or indeed the world. Zach Caban with you across Facebook and YouTube. Alongside me is, of course, the great man JP. We are here for a very busy night in the Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries. As I say, 3 rounds down, 8 to go. So much news and information to sift our way through here. The first port of call will be the championship points. Let's get to them straight away because we've got no time to muck around here. There are just 4 minutes left in the qualifying session. We are 9 minutes away from cars gridding up to go racing. Dylan Rudd leads this championship at the moment, but that's the big story, which we'll get to very shortly. He's on 449, playing Rehan Leonage on 439. And then another 11 points back to Rainer Costello, who was simply brilliant last week. Sean McNamara, 411, and Brian Borg on 408 make up the top 5. Good gap then back to Jamie Dyke. 8 points clear of both Aaron Dodd and Simon Bella. And then a huge gap back to Robert Crisdale and Jared Bailey making up the top 10. We'll let you have a look through the field there as it scrolls down to find out where your favourite driver is as we talk you through the big news. Now, of course, last week, Dylan Rudd grabbed another round win. But tonight, he is not in the server. He has not set a time yet. He is not here. He's been detained at work from what we're being told. He may not yet make the grid. He's got about 6 minutes, barely that, to get himself in the server, home from work and ready to go. And if he comes in now, it'll be a pit lane or maybe even a rear of grid start for Dylan Rudd because he won't have enough time to put down a marker. And therefore, it'll be, a long night at the office for him. But championship-defining moment in every sense of the word. Circumstances beyond his control may well put him out of some sort of championship contention. However, we know this championship. We know that there's another 7 rounds after this. We know that there's a Bathurst 1000 at the end of the season. Even though this will be a big momentum shift and an unfortunate obstacle or roadblock, if you like, in his path to victory, we can't underestimate this bloke in that he may well be able to fight his way back through the field and still be a contender when we get to Bathurst on December 12th. Of course, Rainer Costello was absolutely phenomenal last week. He drove through the field twice, ably assisted by a 17-car pile-up in the first race, and then just pure class and brilliance in the second race as I sent everybody's ears bleeding as he fought his way back through the field to win the second race, the reverse grid feature affair on the Hungaroring in Budapest. It was an interesting night at the office last week. It's going to be even more interesting tonight because we've gone from the the technical circuit of Hungary to the streets of Long Beach. And whilst last week was fraught with danger for so many reasons, because it was a new circuit, because there wasn't a lot of runoff area, because there wasn't a lot of overtaking opportunities, tonight is fraught with danger because everywhere you look, there's the potential to bring yourself unstuck by virtue of a poorly timed overtaking opportunity or smacking one of those concrete barriers, which wall-to-wall feature prominently all around this 3.17 kilometre circuit. Track information, race information coming away in just a moment. Let's get stuck into the hot lap. Here's JP.
Thank you, Zach, and welcome to the concrete canyon that is Long Beach. Imperative to get a really good run out of that last turn there. Now we come across the track as close as I can to the wall, run that wall nice and close, going through the gears here. Now on the brakes, hard on the brakes, shifting down to second gear, early turn in. We start to trail the brake in, get on that power nice and early, let the car hit the rev limiter, short shift down to first gear, short shift back to second on the power. Little touch of the brakes to steady the car, back on the power. So all of this second gear on the limiter, take plenty of curb here. Start shifting up through the gears, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear on the power, down into second gear, early turn in again. Take as much of that curb as we can. Get across to the other side of the track, another early turn in second gear, taking lots of curb, getting close to the wall here on the power, nice and early, coming out, going through the gears. It's imperative that we don't buzz the engine here. We'll lose momentum. Now on the brakes again, early turn in, take plenty of track there. Oh, little slide, turning in, light dab of the brakes, first gear, turn. Now on the power, into second, nice and quick, and that is a hot lap of the Long Beach street circuit.
80 seconds or thereabouts for you, ladies and gentlemen. Pole has been set tonight, if you don't mind, by Sean McNamara, 1 minute 18.16. It's his first pole of the season in the absence of Dylan Rudd. That's a huge number from McNamara as the session ends and the drivers that are left complete the last of their hot laps. Unfortunately, Blake Delaney's just run off there on the exit of turn 9, and therefore his last flying lap is null and void. Now, JP, welcome into you, mate. Great to have you on board for what should be an awesome night at the office. We always love it when we come to Long Beach. One of the fascinating elements of this circuit is some parts of it are wider than others in terms of wall to wall, and that brings with it an element of risk as well, because you've just got to be aware of your surroundings, your boundaries, and your peripherals have got to be on point as well.
Yeah, good evening, Zach, and good evening to the viewers at home and all around the world. And to coin a very famous phrase, I'm excited. This is going to be, this should be it should be a monumental race, or it's going to be an absolute crash fest going into turn 1 with 37 drivers here.
Now, we've got a little bit of breaking news coming in at this point in time, and that is that Scott Barchin has just disconnected. So he was 33rd on this grid, and it says that he's manually disconnected. That means that it's not an internet issue. It's that he has legitimately pulled the pin. And apparently Peter Crossingham's just done the same thing, and he had clocked the 17th fastest time. So this field could be down to 35 before we get going. We're still waiting. Dylan Rudd has still got 3 or 4 minutes up his sleeve to get into the server and start rear of grid or pit lane, whichever is according to the technical and sporting regulations of the series. We'll wait and see on all of that. JP, probably a good opportunity for us as the safety car heads out onto the circuit during the driver's briefing warm up here to have a look at the race info and track information for this first round of the Dragon RC Triple Crown, round 4 of the Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries. And of course, this circuit, 3.17 kilometres long, ladies and gentlemen, 3.167, but who's counting? We round up, of course. 64 laps is the journey tonight, which we've seen Triple Crown races in the past, but this is the first time in my association with the series when it hasn't been an enduro, where we've seen a Triple Crown race run longer than the regular sprint rounds. Normally about 160, 170 Ks. Tonight, 202.9 kilometres. So an extra, half hour or so of racing, bang for your buck tonight. Make sure you stay with us. We're going to go late on the East Coast. 64 kilometres an hour along pit lane. 72.15 litres fuel restriction tonight. Now, our dashboard here is telling us that makes it a two-stop race. What's interesting is that there are only two sets of tyres as well. That's the set they start on and the set that they'll finish on. And it's up to the drivers to decide in the sequence of pit stops where and when they take those four tyres. 2.8 litres a lap fuel burn here. We'll crunch the numbers for you in just a moment. Of course, the server is set to the 19th of October 2021, 1:30 track time. And of course, Long Beach being on the west coast of America is 18 hours behind Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So if you want to put it into real terms, it would be 7:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow morning. No thanks, way too early for me. 22 is the air temp, 28 the track temp, 8 kilometres an hour northeasterly winds for you throughout the course of this race. Of course, once the race gets going, that's the initial set, but once the race gets going, track temp may vary as well as wind speed as well. But that's the starting settings for you tonight. Now, as for that fuel burn, we're going to take 72.15 and divide it by 2.8, and that's going to give us 25.76. So that means that the critical number, if we want to round that up to 26, because there will be a lot of fuel saving involved, safety car is going to play a part here tonight as well, JP. But if we want to round this up and say that if you want to do the long stint first and then a long stint home on a fresh set of rubber, your critical number is going to be around lap 38, 39 of 64 to get that 26 laps to home, and then also being mindful that you need to save enough fuel to get yourself home on the cool down lap as well. So there's a wide window as far as our pit stops are concerned tonight, and we haven't had that this season so far.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are going to have options set aside for them. So it'll be interesting to see what some of them did. Now, I just got a message from Rainer Costello. His fastest lap was an 18.302, but he touched the wall, and yep. And that didn't count. And of course, as you know, well, if you touched the wall, it wasn't your fastest lap now, was it?
It certainly wasn't. Sean McNamara's got pole position by, and in fact, if we can, JP, let's run the qualifying results here because it'll be easier than waiting for the grid in a minute's time. It'll give us a little bit more time to run through what's going on here. This is the grid for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The latest round of the RSRA Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries. Sean McNamara on pole, 9.5 Sim Sport. In the absence of Dylan Rudd, rely on the champ, Sean McNamara. How about that? Rehan Leonage, another front row start for him. He's racking up some impressive statistics, the young bloke this season. Dylan Pereira and Brian Borg will share the second row. Borg will be hoping for a much better night at the office than what he had 7 nights ago. Cameron Jones, a good qualifying effort from him. Rainer Costello will start alongside on row 3, but watch that guy in the early stages. He found a way last week to just, filter his way through and avoid every single bit of trouble along the way. Jared Bailey and Jamie Dyke. Impressive effort from Bailey. Dyke there on the 4th row, the Triple Crown champion in Series 2, of course. Tom Heyman and Ben Morris from row number 5. Let's go across the page. The rest of it for you. For row 6 onwards, it will be Brenton Nitschke, David Coleman, Simon Chadwick, and Sam Noble from row 7. Robert Crisdale. And, of course, Bruce Tunnock from row 8. Peter Crossingham, we've told you, is disconnected from the server, but he has reconnected. So he's in and good to go from 7-8. Jacob Brewer alongside him. Brian Good and David Kirby from row 10. 11 will be where you find Craig Schultz and Hayden Norris, Michael Angus and Rick Sibra, then David Nash and Dean Power, Blake Delaney and Simon Vella from row 14, Dean Reddit and Jamie Davis from row 15. Row 16 will be Matthew Scholes and Justin Pennefather. Scott Barchin and Chris Barnes will be starting from 17, although we told you earlier that Barchin had disconnected, and it remains the case. So there'll be a vacant grid spot there in position 33. Chris Barnes and Robbie Bradbury will be the next two, then Dean Alessi and Lindsay Hobbs. And Lee Davis, of course, starting in the safety car. Let's see how many laps he gets tonight, because it's Long Beach. There's a 100% probability that we will see the Porsche on circuit tonight. Ready to go for round 4 of the RSRA Super Series for Goodyear Autocare Warana. The Dragon RC Long Beach 200, the start of the Triple Crown. Let's go. Beautiful start out of the blocks from Rehan Leonage, but he's not in the right position to make it work on the run to turn 1. Sean McNamara will have the inside run, and as long as he's got the legs, he should hold on here. Look at the start from Dylan Pereira flying down the inside. It's McNamara's corner. Leonage through in second. Little scrape of the wall further back, but so far so good. Now let's see how they get through turn 2. Already trouble. Already trouble at turn 2 at the water fountain. We expected that. We wait and see what race control will do if they need to do anything. But McNamara, a beautiful conversion off the line, exactly what he needed. And now Rehan Leonage goes out in pursuit. This will be time certain at 2 hours, 10 minutes. I'm reliably informed that won't become a factor, ladies and gentlemen. It is 64 laps on the streets of Long Beach, California. As the Triple Crown gets underway, of course, the last leg of the Triple Crown will be the last round of the championship, the ultimate endurance, the Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000 for 2021. Sunday, December 12 on the platforms of Simshed Broadcasting. Brilliant start from Sean McNamara. He has finally found his feet. We've been waiting all season to see the champ bounce into some sort of strong form. It's been a difficult year at the office for him. He hasn't had a great deal of luck. Now, finally, a clean set of heels and a clear track in front of him, just the way he likes it. Leonage is second. Brian Borg has got past Dylan Pereira third. Rainer Costello has got past Cameron Jones fifth. Jared Bailey, Jamie Dyke and Tom Heyman all remain where they start, and Brenton Nitschke is 10th. JP, an interesting first lap, but we got through unscathed, relatively speaking.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting first lap. Looks like some of the back markers, though, did come to grief on the opening sector of the lap, and probably when they got down to the last turn. But we'll have a look at that in the replays as the race goes on.
Yeah, there were some big movers on the opening lap, mate, and there were some big losers as well. Robert Crisdale and David Coleman now catapulting down our timing screen as well, so they're possibly running into trouble. Jacob Brewer and Hayden Norris also dropping 16 and 13 positions respectively on the opening lap. Dean Reddit, our good mate from Wednesday Night Motorsport, dropped 7 positions as well. So there is some trouble. And in fact, David Coleman hasn't moved anywhere, so I wouldn't be surprised to see if we do get a safety car. Now he is moving. He's okay now, so we should avoid a safety car on lap 2 here. That was what happened at turn 1 to Chris Barnes. Traffic pulled up on him. Had nowhere to go, JP. It's a bit hard when it's like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But these guys still, they should know at the start of the race, you know, that the lead drivers give themselves a good extra 10% stopping distance, the mid-pack about 30%, and the tail enders really need to give themselves an extra 50% stopping distance for those cars that are checking up in front of them.
It's going to be interesting to see how these guys play it tonight. Will Rehan Leonage go on the undercut strategy and pit earlier than everybody, knowing that we said earlier that the critical numbers around lap 38, 39. And look at this, it's just a car park when they get round to turn 11 on the replay. That was Dean Reddit making, he was trying to make way for people and trying to get out of the road, and then all of a sudden just got turned.
Yeah, look, I think race control will really look unfavourably on that move.
Rick Sipper is still in pit lane as well at the end of lap 2, so Rick Sipper has been caught up in some garbage there. There have been some big losers on the opening 2 laps. Robert Crisdale down 13, Jacob Brewer down 14, Hayden Norris down 11, and David Coleman down 23 positions already. Big movers, Dean Alessi, Lindsay Hobbs up from 36th and 37th respectively to 26th and 27th respectively. Also Matthew Scholes up 8 positions into 23rd, and Simon Vella up 7 positions into 21st. And apart from that, no other real big movers at the moment. But Brian Borg, the man on screen, has clocked the fastest lap of the race. A 1 minute 19.48. Rehan Leonage, a 1 minute 19.49. Sean McNamara, a 1:19.65. You don't have to be fast around Long Beach if you've got track position. And an inch is as good as a mile on a track that can be easy for overtaking opportunities. There are quite a few around here, but executing those opportunities is where the degree of difficulty steps well and truly up a notch. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast that is street racing for you, ladies and gentlemen. We love it because it's always a great spectacle, but it's a rigorous test for these guys. 200 kilometres tonight, 1/5 of what they'll do on December 12. They will have co-drivers joining them for the ride on that day. But right now, our focus is on the front of the field. McNamara and Leonage pulled the top three on lap 4. Dylan Pereira under pressure from Rainer Costello. Let's follow this as they come round onto the main straight. Rainer will be hoping for a good run here to make a move at turn 1 in the slipstream. And he'll need to eventually pull out of the slipstream unless Dylan Pereira wants to defend the inside. But Rainer really didn't get a good enough run there, JP. He's not close enough to make a move.
No, look, he wasn't, and I gave him a little bit of advice just before we started tonight. I just said, just be patient. It's a long race. Pick your opportunities. See where your opponents are strong and weak, and wait for them to make a mistake.
And there will be a mistake at somewhere along the line tonight. It's Long Beach. It's notorious for bringing even the best of drivers unstuck. And, well, I mean, Sean McNamara, he's a case in point of a good driver coming unstuck. He got caught up in some garbage there in the first 2 rounds of the last series. Remember that? Have a look at this, all right. We've got
Mr. Flamboyant there, Simon Chadwick.
Simon Chadwick. Yeah, I was just trying to pick up the number of the car in front. That's, of course, Benny Morris. So Ben Morris and Simon Chadwick. And they're just behind Brenton Nitschke at the moment. Chadwick on the ragged edge at this point in time, looking for a way past Benny Morris and unable to find it just now. Patience is a virtue in a race this long. We're only on lap 5 of 64. Make it lap 6 as McNamara crosses the line. Rehan Leonage only half a second away. Look at this. Big push from Chadwick on Morris coming onto the main straight. He's right there. Now, he's going to have a chance.
This is something that Simon's got to be really, really aware of. Now, he is very flamboyant in the way he drives. He likes to get that car out sideways. He locks up the brakes, gets the tail end out a little bit every now and then. But on a track like this, 64 laps, you've only got 2 sets of tyres. The set of tyre that you start with and 1 set of tyres to go with. If you start sliding around too much, you're going to burn up your tyres too quickly.
And that was another point I wanted to ask you about, mate. Obviously, you're involved with putting the series together from a rules and regulations standpoint as well. And obviously, when we get to the enduros, sometimes we have 2 sets becomes 3 sets for the 250-kilometre races. Sometimes it doesn't. Where did you guys sit with, do we or don't we give them an extra set for the extra 40 or 50 kilometres tonight?
Look, this race was all about throwing up the ultimate challenge to the drivers. 64 laps around this kind of track. There's no room for margin. It's a concrete canyon. You hit one wall and chances are you're just going to pinball across the track and hit another wall. So we really wanted to challenge these guys, give them 1 set of tyres to pit with and see what they did with it.
All right. And it will be interesting to see what they do with it as the night rolls on. Lap 7 of 64, race 5, round 4 of the championship. Good to have your company wherever you're tuning in around Australia or indeed the world on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, Tuesday Night Motorsport. Here's Chadwick trying to find a way past Benny Morris, but Morris defended the inside line. Now Chadwick's down on the inside, and Morris shuts the door, and that's a nudge for his trouble.
Yeah, he's got to be careful here.
Chadwick addresses. And Morris sideways as well. And unfortunately, JP, I know exactly where you were going. 2 problems here. That needed to be redressed from Chadwick because race control wouldn't have been viewing that favourably if he took Benny Morris after getting into the side of him. And then secondly, what it's done as well, it's unsettled the rear end of Morris, who's now playing ultra defensive on Chadwick. And Chadwick squeezes down the inside, and he'll take Tannock with him. And now all of a sudden Morris is a sitting duck because that was the other consequence of the contact, JP. And that was that it brought that next gaggle of cars right onto their bumper. And Benny Morris has lost 3 positions in the space of 1 straight.
And it was a great move by Chadwick. Chadwick just held Morris out there a little bit longer. Morris had to square his car up to make that corner, and he just lost all momentum. So lost all the mid-corner pace, and that's where he just got swallowed up by everybody else.
So Ben Morris, that's a big setback for him. Down to 14th now as we go back towards the front end of town. There's Jamie Dyke on screen in the 080. Just ahead of him, Jared Bailey. Just behind him, Tom Heyman. Right 64, eighth of the way through the race. So what, 12.5% for you, ladies and gentlemen. 16 laps is 25%, therefore 48 laps is 75% tonight. If you make it to 75%, you do get classified, which is important to note from a points perspective on a night where Dylan Rudd will lose his championship lead. He was not able to get into the server. He was not able to start the race. There's David Kirby getting unstuck in the car park, just having to pretty much break it to zero and then get back underway. And it's a circuit where if you lose your momentum like that, JP, it's unnerving, it's unrattling, and you've just got to find a way to put your mind at ease and get back on with the task at hand.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's easy for us to sit here and say and talk about momentum and that, but really, and especially coming around here, the car following should hold back just a little bit to allow them to get a good run out of that hairpin. If they're too close to the car in front of them, what happens is the car in front of them checks them up, and it takes all of their mid-corner speed coming out of that hairpin, and they've got nowhere to go.
One thing we will mention too, ladies and gentlemen, is that it was an interesting qualifying format for tonight as well. We didn't get a great chance to talk about it before we got the race underway, but it was a bottom 50% first up for 15 minutes, a top 50% after that for a further 15 minutes. The top 50% guys were a little bit concerned about how they might be disadvantaged because the track was warming up, etc. and so forth as they got out there, but it didn't end up upsetting the apple cart at all because, well, the top 4 or 5 on the grid, 6 on the grid even, were all from that top 50%. McNamara, Leonage, Borg, Pereira, Costello, top 5 make it because Cameron Jones was in the bottom 50%. He was the best placed of the bottom 50% crew on row 3 there. Bailey was, of course, Group 1, Group 2 rather. Dyke was Group 1. Heyman, I think, was Group 2. So there was a good variety, but at the top end of town, the first 2 rows, the pace setters of this series really rose to the occasion.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're seeing them now starting to really stamp their authority on the race early on in the piece as well.
Indeed they are. Here's lap 10 of 64 here. Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries, Tuesday Night Motorsport Simshed broadcasting wherever you're tuning in around Australia. Don't forget the Super 2E series for DSL Welding. They'll be here tomorrow night. Same venue, but sprint mode. Not the 200 kilometres that we got tonight. It'll be, I think it's 51 laps tomorrow night for those guys. Join Dean Reddit, JP, and the rest of the team for the call. Matt Davis having a week off due to work commitments outside of his home. Now that he's out of isolation, he's really making the most of it and can't blame him for that. Lap 10 of 64. We're riding on board with Brian Borg. We're chasing Rehan Leonage. And the interesting thing here too, JP, is just how evenly matched this field is in the sense that Sean McNamara has not been able to draw clear of these guys after spending the first 10 laps at the head of the field as the race leader. So I was talking earlier about McNamara knowing full well about the elements of danger associated with being in the heat of battle. He, of course, got brought undone in the closing stages of the round at Montreal, Canada in the last series, season 2, of course. He then got unstuck the week after at Watkins Glen. He just couldn't take a trick. But the trick to the trade was a good qualifying time. He puts in his best qualifying performance of the season, converts it off the start, holds the lead, and he hasn't looked troubled yet.
Yeah, 100%. He looks like he's really got command of this race. And look, he's where he needs to be. He's at the front. He's holding his lead. It doesn't look like Rehan or Brian are catching him at all. And he can control the race from the front there and make sure he doesn't burn up his tyres too much. He's in a good position. And another thing, you know, all of the guys, well, most of the guys have done really well so far. They've they've basically just raced to see what the guys ahead of them are doing. They've found their groove now. They're in their groove, and they're starting to race. Early days, they can start pushing and trying to make up positions.
Now, here's the other thing too. We've just started lap 12 right there as McNamara crosses the line. Brian Borg's all over the back of Rehan Leonage. McNamara actually put 3/10 on them that time round. 1.2 now the advantage. We go back and have a look at this battle as well, with Jamie Dyke chasing Jared Bailey and defending Tom Heyman. So this is the battle for 7th, 8th and 9th. We've got a couple of really good active live battles on the racetrack at the moment, but mid-pack is just a plethora of different cars. Jacob Brewer, the first one, a lap down at this point. Rick Sibra still in pit lane, having got caught up in an incident at the end of lap 2, and he is now 9 laps down. But if he can get the car paired, get back out there and finish 48 laps, he will be classified. That's important to note. The other point that's important and worth noting here, we mentioned the reverse strategy. So we mentioned the critical number in terms of the earliest you can stop and get home is around lap 38, 39. Well, now is the earliest you could stop and still get home on one more stop. We mentioned the fuel burn takes you, or the fuel tank fuels up and takes you through the better part of 26 laps. If you wanted to pit at the end of this lap, we're 52 from home, you could get home. It'll be interesting to see how many people run an alternate strategy throughout the course of the night. And of course, inevitably, there'll be a lot of guys riding on the probability of a safety car as well, JP, before they even consider coming into pit lane, if we don't get through the first 26 laps caution-free, that is.
Yeah, 100%. Now, the beginning of the race, we've had that, and we haven't had a safety car. So what people will be hoping on now is somebody has a bit of a lapse in concentration, maybe gets themselves stuck somewhere. Oh, that was close. Gets themselves stuck somewhere that they don't want to be, and they'll have to call the safety car out. And if that happens, just watch the pits ignite.
Oh, yeah. And the race off pit road will be just as compelling as what unfolds on pit road. Don't worry about that. We are bringing you round 4 of the Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries. 19th of October. We are now inside 2 months from the Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000. Look at Jamie Dyke really giving Jared Bailey a hurry up here. Of course, in 7 weeks' time, we've only got another 6 rounds after this on a Tuesday night. So in 7 weeks' time, what will be Tuesday, December 7, we will be here for qualifying for the Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000. As I said at the top of the broadcast, this is a 6-week sweep through the United States and Brazil. There's just one race at the Interlagos circuit coming your way. That is, of course, in 2 weeks' time. The other 5 races in this 6-week sweep will be all on US soil, including COTA next week. Of course, Summit Point's in there as well. Just to throw the cat amongst the pigeons, if you don't mind. It's an awesome calendar that we've got for you this season. Mid-Ohio in there as well as Road America. And for these guys, not the Wednesday night crew, into the pit lane. There goes Matthew Scholes. Matthew Scholes is running a reverse strategy to everybody else. That's interesting. In the early stages here, Matthew Scholes takes a gamble. Let's see if it pays off. Of course, he certainly had a good run last week in the reverse grid race, finishing on the podium. What's also interesting for mine, JP, I was running everyone through the calendar there. Road America will be a super sprint round for these guys, so we will have a reverse grid race if you don't mind. And that won't apply to the Wednesday night crew, the RSRA Super 2E series for DSL Welding, but it will apply to the Tuesday night squad, and we are looking forward to that immensely. Have a look at this in the meantime, would you? 14 of 64. They are on the ragged edge at the moment. Ben Morris all over the back of Bruce Tunnock like a rash at the moment as they head down the back straight to turn 9. Peter Crossingham's in this as well, down the inside. Morris, no. Tell you what, there's pressure mounting here. This is an awesome scrap. Morris, of course, back in 13th, trying to fight his way back through after coming unstuck earlier on after the contact there with Simon Chadwick. And then just getting swamped from every single possible angle. But look at the freight train of cars there. The log jam from Morris all the way back, or Tunnock all the way back, I should say, to about Sam Noble in 23rd position. It's just a sea of cars.
Yeah,
in California.
We just went back there to have a look at Matthew Scholes. I reckon he was going in for the early stop, trying to come out in some clean air, but that hasn't worked for him. So
No.
I think that's probably going to work against him now, having that early stop.
And that's unfortunate, but it's a gamble worth taking when you're as far down the order as he was. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to pay off. Look at this. Morris on the outside. Morris on the outside of Tannock. Puts himself on the inside for the next corner for turn 8. So driving from Ben Morris up into 12th. We know this guy's got pace. He's got racecraft to show with it as well. And he's put Bruce Tannock back to 13th. Here comes Crossingham wanting a piece of the action as well. Crossingham down on the inside of Tannock. A little bit of a touch from Tannock and Morris. But Tannock's going to hold on. And Crossingham won't be able to send it all the way around the outside to turn 11. And in there, in behind them, is David Kirby as well, who's trying to get down on the inside, but gets balked in the process. Onto the main straight, Morris, the leader of this freight train, in the battle for 12.
Now, that was a really interesting move that Morris put on Tannock there. And you saw when he came back around on that turn there, he instantly came back to the outside to cover himself, because he knew by going in shallow the way he did, he was going to be under attack. He wasn't going to have the pace coming out of the corner. He moved to the right-hand side of the track and covered himself off. He made it impossible for Tannock to put a move on him.
Certainly did. He did such a sensational job in executing that manoeuvre, Ben Morris. And he'd been chipping away at it and chipping away at it. It just goes to show you, in a field this competitive, on a track this difficult, overtaking is not easy. It's going to be one of the stories of the night for you here, ladies and gentlemen. Dean Powers a lap down. So too Matthew Scholes and Jacob Brewer, but they have all pitted. Scholes has pitted. Brewer has pitted. Robert Crisdale's been in the pit lane now for 4 minutes and 23 seconds, but is rejoining the race. Rick Sibra remains in pit lane and is 14 laps down. The Rick Sibra is on the precipice of being out of business, because if he goes 16 laps down, he will not make 75% race distance. Therefore, no matter if he takes the checkered flag, he won't be classified and therefore won't score championship points. So Rick Sibra, it looks like his night might soon be very well done. Scott Bartram was a non-starter. Lee Davis hasn't been called upon as yet in the Porsche safety car. The good news is we have 35 cars still on track circulating this 3.167 kilometre Long Beach circuit. We've hit 25% race distance. You're watching the battle here between Peter Crossing and Bruce Tannock and David Kirby. Now, what's interesting about all of that is that Ben Morris has already put nearly 2 seconds between himself and these drivers. This freight train of Holtons, 1, 2, 3, look at them. And in behind David Kirby is Brian Good, Craig Schultz, David Nash, Michael Angus and Simon Vella rounding out the top 20. Tannock's, I get the feeling that Tannock might be... No, trouble! Ben Morris in the wall! And somehow, everybody's managed to scrape through that unscathed. Oh, trouble on the exit. Now, will this trigger a safety car and a plethora of... Oh, yes, it surely will. Now, there's another car involved at the back there. Have a look at this on replay. Ben Morris has put in the wall at turn 8, or turn 9, I should say, on the run. No, I was right the first time. It is turn 8. Put in the excitement of the moment, ladies and gentlemen, and Ben Morris has drifted into the wall, and then he's got cleaned up by Tannock and Crossingham, and now
this
have a look at this. There's a plethora of cars in pit lane, JP.
This is just pure stupidity. I mean,
safety car deployed. Have a look at that.
You know, these guys should have just kept still, waited. You know, that's why they have a relative timing screen.
The 020. Oh, there's more involved. There was 5 or 6 involved in that in the end. And all because it's a blind corner. You don't know what's waiting for you around the other side. But now it has just set pit lane alight. Have a look at this. Expect everybody in right now, because the second half of the field has already pitted. The first half of the field had already gone past the start-finish line as the safety car had been deployed. Now they're all in. And this changes everything, because now, even though we've been talking about that critical number being around lap 38, 39, these guys are going to no doubt go out with a full tank, and therefore it's going to be a case of you know, you're looking at lap 43, 44. So it just changes the game yet again as we reinvent the wheel. Unfortunately, it's as the result of one car coming unstuck and causing the knock-on effect. And as JP said, there was just no patience shown in the heat of the moment there. I can understand the urgency of wanting to, you know, get back on track and get back in the rhythm and try and put that mistake behind you. But on a circuit like Long Beach, when you've got people coming towards you, I don't think the race steward's going to look too fondly upon what just unfolded there, because what could have just simply been, with a little bit of caution exercised and patience and, well, you know, the like, it could have been a lot less dangerous and a lot less damaging than that. What could have been two drivers getting involved ended up being 6 drivers getting involved, and now pit lane is going to be very busy. Bruce Tunnock, Peter Crossingham, Lindsay Hobbs, all in pit lane, have been for about a minute and a half. And Ben Morris is back out on the racetrack, but he was on pit road for a minute and 10 seconds. So what's your take on all that, JP?
Yeah, look, I think you hit the nail right on the head, and there was that was just a matter of the drivers just not showing patience, and race control will take a very, very dim view of this. They've spoken to the drivers before. They have a relative timing screen. They can see the other cars coming down on them. When you're in a situation where you're jammed in with another car, what you don't do is you don't put your car in reverse and then put it in drive again or first gear and then try to move the other car out of the way. That's just not on.
Discretion was the other word I was looking for there, of course, because at the end of the day, what JP said is absolutely right. I'm not going to disagree with that. It's a case of, I mean, quite rightly, there's one or two ways of looking at this. It's what might have happened had the car stayed where it was and waited for all the field to go through, because we know that even though there would have been some yellows waving, there could have been a car lock up behind. There was enough space there for, as you saw, 6, 7, 8 cars to squeeze through on the inside. There were a couple of guys that made a mistake and ran a little bit wide of where that marker was, and that set off a knock-on effect as well. But it all started with reversing off the wall there by Ben Morris. Now, we're not going to be critical of particular drivers and particular moments, but yeah, there's one of 3 ways that could have played out. Unfortunately, the way it played out was probably the worst way, unfortunately. All good and well, had another driver arrived on the scene, not seen that everybody was exercising a bit of caution and slowing down and tucking into the right side of the circuit, and slid into the wall and collected the cars that were already there. But it is what it is, as they say, and we're on lap 20 of 64 here on the streets of Long Beach. The safety car out. Now, whether the safety car will go in this time by or stay out on the circuit for another lap remains to be seen. I'll be interested to see what sort of information stems through from race control with regards to penalties and outcomes related to that particular incident which happened on that corner. But now, JP, we've got a couple of different things to consider here. Obviously, the tactical game of the drivers at the pointy end of town. How do they change their strategy to accommodate what's just unfolded? And then the second thing that we've got to be mindful of is, now that we've bunched the pack back up again, safety cars tend to breed safety cars, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like you said, it's these guys are going to have to approach this in a completely different way. You know that the guys behind, they're going to be looking at making the quick move. Looks like we might be going around one more time with the safety car.
We certainly are.
Yes, we are. But yeah, they're going to have to approach this in a completely different way now.
Now, just quickly as well, I did see, but I didn't have enough of a chance to read it before we went on air tonight. Craig Schultz sent a memo to the drivers about the restart zone and the acceleration points. I know you'd be across that information, being part of the admin team here. Just walk us through that, please, so that we know what we're in for just now.
Okay, so basically the acceleration zone for the safety car will be under the Firestone Bridge, halfway down the back straight. So at that point, the safety car is going to accelerate from the rest of the field, and the leader will then take control of the race. So after that, the acceleration zone for the race restart will be at the exit of the final turn. So from that point on, the leader can choose to go at any stage. Now, once they do restart, they are allowed to overlap, but they cannot pass until they cross the control line. So once the safety car comes in, what I would do is look for Sean McNamara to basically get around that last corner and then gun it as soon as his car is straight.
Copy that, mate. Thank you. I've got some news coming in from pit lane here, and that is that Ben Morris and also Dean Reddit have parked up for the night. They are out of the race. Particularly disappointing for Dean Reddit. Unsurprisingly, it's a consequence of the incident for Ben Morris as to why he has parked up for the night. But race control will now have a dilemma on their hands, because no doubt they would have been reviewing that incident with Morris, and now it's going to be a case of how they apply a post-race penalty or something similar relating to next week. We'll wait and see on all of that, because obviously now they are denied the opportunity to penalise him in race. Now, 28 cars remain on the lead lap here. McNamara wastes no time in putting foot to floor and getting back to racing here. First restart of the night on the streets of Long Beach. 28 cars on the lead lap, 26 of them in the train. Hayden Norris, David Coleman still catching up to the back of the train at the moment, so they will be in traffic a little bit later on, you would think. Peter Crossing and Bruce Tunnock also circulating around the circuit on their own accord. Lindsay Hobbs is at the back of this train, albeit a couple of laps down, and Robert Crisdale's about... Oh, more trouble! More trouble! Brendan Nitschke, was it? Oh, did I did! More trouble! Bruce Tunnock's in the wall!
That's actually David Nash.
Oh, no, David Nash, my apologies. Same livery as Tunnock, isn't it? So...
It looks like
David Nash.
Looks like Brian Good just got a tag by... yeah, look, he's gone. Looks like Brian Good just tagged or was tagged by Michael Angus, and then pushed into the side of David Nash, and that hasn't helped him. Now sliding like that's not going to help him either. So his tyres are going to be nice and hot.
Shot. They're going to be absolutely shot. Now, so obviously we've been able to get through the first lap with incident, but without re-triggering the safety car again. Lee Davis did 3 laps that time around. We'll wait and see how many more he does before the night is done. We're only a third of the way through the race. Just for the benefit of me and also people on socials watching along, JP, if we can get a little graphic in the bottom left corner that tells us who we're watching as we go here, that'd be terrific. In the meantime, we've picked up Rainer Costello all over the back of Rehan Leonage or Dylan Pereira. It's Pereira at the moment. So Costello sitting there in position number 5. Pereira's just ahead, and Brian Borg is in third. Rehan Leonage is a second behind the race leader in Sean McNamara, who continues on leading through after 23 laps. This is the 23rd lap at this point in time. Now, that was lucky for David Kirby. It was his teammate Michael Angus that ended up getting caught up in the garbage with Brian Good and co. And it's been a horrible restart for David Nash, who finds himself at the back of the field but still soldiering on, despite only stopping on lap 17. Tom Heyman, a moment here coming into turn 1 and into the wall. Oh, side-on contact. That won't help his straight line performance and outright speed and suspension. There'll be a couple of things jolted as a result of that. That looked like a heavy hit, despite the fact that he was slowing down.
I thought that car was crabbing there for a second.
You and I too. McNamara, Leonage, Borg, Pereira and Costello the top 5 at the moment. You're watching round 4 of the Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries. It is round 1 of the Dragon RC Triple Crown from here on the streets of Long Beach. We've had our first caution. The pack is all bunched up again. We have 28 cars on the lead lap, which is extraordinary. We've had a couple of retirements already, namely Ben Morris and Dean Reddit. But we've still got 32 cars on track, and Jacob Brewer and Rick Sibber are in pit lane. Now, Brewer's been in for 6.5 minutes. Rick Sibber is out of business. Rick Sibber will not be classified even if he does get back out onto the track tonight. He's now 21 laps down. He won't get classified at 75%.
Now, this is probably
24 or 64, JP.
This is probably worth mentioning as well. Here we go. Drive-through penalty, 205, car contact.
Oh, no, Michael Angus.
Yeah, so that was that incident before where Michael Angus tagged the back of Brian Good's car, forcing him into the side of David Nash. But I was going to say, these guys tonight, they've got 64 laps. They only have 16 incident points up their sleeve. If they cross those 16 incident points, they will be called in for their first drive-through penalty. After that, every 9 incident points.
Yep, and that's one thing that wasn't on our race info sheet at the start of the night, but one thing that we might add to our race info sheet in the weeks ahead, because it is on the iRacing server, and 16X around here doesn't leave a lot of margin for error, and there'll be already a few guys that have had a couple of 4Xs to their name. Have a look at this down on the inside. Big move. That's Heyman on Kirby for 12. So Tom Heyman on the comeback trail after that moment earlier at turn 1 and scrapes the wall again, heading through turn 8.
That hit
the young
didn't seem
bloke
to hurt
from Newcastle. It hasn't seemed to hurt him. I thought it might, but no. Clearly, either it hasn't hurt him or he's working around it. We'll find out which later, I'm sure. Through they go again. Simon Chadwick.
I think I'm going to call...
Sitting there and ninth all over the back of Jared Bailey. Go, JP.
I think I'm going to call Simon Chadwick the Prince of Glam with the way that he drives.
Yes. Fair enough, too.
Maybe we should go for a... maybe we should crank up the volume and go for a lap with Simon Chadwick.
Sounds good to me, mate. Let's do it. All thrills and spills with Simon Chadwick. Prince of Glam, I think JP referred to him as. Unfortunately, that lap wasn't as glam as he'd like it to be. He came unstuck halfway through. You saw it with the onboard shot. We'll have a look at a replay for you, no doubt, in just a moment. It has cost him a little bit of ground there. He has dropped down into position number 9, but he's now 4 seconds off Jared Bailey when he was right on his clucker. Here it is again. And all on his own, too. Very graceful in how he pulled it up, JP, because he didn't cloud any walls. He didn't sustain any damage. He just kept the boot into it and got going again.
Almost like a ballerina doing a pirouette.
Yeah, except that he stopped at 270. He didn't complete the 360. So, there he is, sitting down in position number 9 at the moment. Still a good run. Now, at this point in time, we're not too far off half race distance at the end of lap 32. Let's have a look at where things stand as Tom Heyman makes light work of Blake Delaney and moves up into position number 11. Heyman's on a charge at the moment. The big movers of the night. So first, second, fifth and sixth remain where they started. Cameron Jones got the better of Rainer Costello during the pit stop sequence, so he has put himself back into P5. Brian Borg and Dylan Pereira started on row 2, but they're in the opposite position to where they started at the moment, 3 and 4 for Borg and Pereira, respectively, having started 4th and 3rd, respectively. The big movers of the night, however, Simon Vella up 18 positions into position number 10 from 28th on the grid. Blake Delaney from 27th to 12th. Dean Power from 26 to 14th. Dean Alessi from 36 to 18th. He's halfway up through the field. Justin Pennefather, 13 positions gained from 32nd up into 9th. Matthew Scholes has gone up 10 places from 31st to 21st, and that's even with that that outer sequence compared to those around in pit stop, but that was somewhat cancelled out by the safety car being deployed only a few laps later. Drive-through penalty for the 066, the contact on 605. So that's Brenton Nitschke for contact on the Wright Sim Racing entry of Matthew Scholes on lap 26. So Brenton Nitschke will be coming to pit lane. Now, 12 positions gained for Chris Barnes, up in 22nd from 34th on the grid. Robbie Bradbury's followed him through from 35th to 23rd. The rest of it, well, it's all the losers, unfortunately, the evening thus far. 15 positions lost for David Coleman, 13 for Bruce Tunnock, who's back out on the track despite that incident with Ben Morris. Robert Crisdale down 16 positions, but is 5 laps down. And in fact, I might not be surprised to see that he has... Oh, no. I was going to say, I thought he disconnected from the server, JP. He's had an internet dropout, unfortunately, has Robert Crisdale. So that's going to put him out of business until he can get the internet sorted or the power back on or whatever's happened there. It could be a combination, knowing some of the storms that have been around this week. If you've been on the East Coast, you'll know what I'm talking about. Of course, Jacob Brewer out of business, Ben Morris out of business, Dean Reddit out of business, Rick Sibra sitting in pit lane but won't be classified. Peter Crossingham back in pit lane and has been there for 5 minutes thus far. So that's the tail of the tape at the moment in the first of the 3 Triple Crown rounds we'll be bringing you this season. The big one being the Bathurst 1000 as we right on board with Tom Heyman, and he is out in pursuit of Simon Vella. Down towards turn 9 they come. Heyman will take a cautious approach here. No need to risk it at this point in time. He's right up on the tail of Vella now. Can he send it round the outside? No, he'll tuck him behind and follow him through 10 into 11 this time by. Now he'll be looking to get a good run out of here to set himself up for the run to turn 1. But remembering as well that if no one took tyres in that first round of pit stops, the rubber is all 30 laps old now. So it's starting to get to breaking point for these guys. They'll be looking at the next pit stop and saying, come quickly, we need some new rubber.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are going to be looking for their, I guess, their minimum requirement to get home, and I reckon they'll be in sooner rather than later for fresh tyres.
And of course, as we said earlier, that minimum requirement, despite the fact that we've all seen them stop at lap 18, that minimum is around lap 38, 39. 26 laps to a tank is what we roughly calculated earlier, close enough to it, 25 3/4. They can save a quarter of a lap across 26. Don't worry about that. But then you've got to get that 27th lap to get home under your own steam back to your pit box, or else you got a 3-place penalty. So maybe they'll stretch it to 39 to wear on the side of caution, JP, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see pit lane very busy in about 12 minutes' time.
Yeah, absolutely, and you hit the nail right on the head there as well. They have to be able to do the cool down lap. They must complete a cool down lap and get back into pit lane.
Sometimes easier said than done. We have seen a few entertaining attempts at that in the past, and we've seen a couple of drivers come up short as well, which is never pleasant to see. Especially after they put all the hard yards in to get to the checkered flag in the first place. 31 64, so almost half race distance. Simon Vella, 10th position at the moment, holding off Tom Heyman at the front. Sean McNamara leads by 1.4. Trouble! Car on the wall! David Nash! That might be it. That might be it for Nash. He might just park up, and that might trigger our second caution of the night, JP. Here it is on replay. He's just run wide and smacked it into the wall. Now, he's tried to get back going, and it's ended up further in the wall, and he's in more trouble now. And has that triggered the safety car? The car is still there. He is not moving. Now he is. He has been able to get it into reverse. He'll put it down the escape road. Will he try and get it back onto the racetrack, or is he just getting it off and out of the road for the sake of safety? No, he's going to get it back on the racetrack and get back going. So we avoid a caution at the lap in which we reach half race distance.
Yeah, look, I mean, that cost David a lot of time, but it was just good presence of mind. He just sat there. He didn't move. He knew that if he did move, he would cause probably another incident.
Have a look at this, JP. I'm coming back to you. 3 wide down the main straight. Craig Schultz is caught up in all that. Brian Good and Dean Alessi as well. Brian Good's going to lead that pack down to turn 1. It's 15th, 16th and 17th that you've got on screen at the moment. So too Justin Pettifather and Sam Noble, 18th and 19th. But no, good presence of mind and good awareness of the situation, as you were saying, JP, from David Nash. It hasn't been a great second stint for him since that safety car restart, and he got caught up in all that trouble at the water fountain there at turn 2. But at least we are denied a second caution for the moment, and the race can stay green, because if we'd have got one there at lap 32, that would have thrown a tremendous spanner in the works, because strategy would have gone out the window, because you wouldn't have been able to fuel up and get home. More trouble here. More trouble here for one of the KFC entries, I do believe. Number 35. That is Robbie Bradbury, and he's going to clout the wall here. But not the one I was anticipating. He's just got it crossed up, locked up, hit a bump, and it speared him right.
Yeah, once again, those tyres getting very old. A little bit early on the power, and she just rotated. Now, don't tell me that the minor placings don't mean anything. Look at these guys.
Oh, yeah. They're very well and truly getting the elbows out and dirty tonight. Down on the inside. Good move there. But unable to be polished and finished off and executed to the nth degree. That was the 34. Dean Alessi getting muscled out by Craig Schultz through turn 1 on the run to turn 2. You don't often see it, but this time it's worked to Schultz's advantage here as they head back around down the back straight. There's the KFC entry of Simon Vella under tremendous pressure from Tom Heyman here on the run to turn 9. Through they go again. This is a good little battle that's forming here. And they're going to have Blake Delaney for company as well in just a matter of seconds.
Have a look at this now.
This is awesome now at the front. So we've got the other KFC car under pressure. So it's something about finger licking chicken tonight, because the KFC cars have been at the forefront of a few different battles. Right here and now, it's Cameron Jones and Rainer Costello, if you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen. Rainer's looking for a way through in the Goodyear Autocare Warana car. Jones hoping to keep him at bay. It's the battle for 5th, and Jamie Dyke's there for good measure as well to keep them honest in the Fishy Motorsport entry in position number 7. Through they go again. Lap 34 or 64. You're right on board with Rainer Costello on the ragged edge. Oh, keep it together, Rainer. He clouts the wall. It's a soft touch through turn 9, but it gives Jones a bit of breathing space. And Jamie Dyke's down the inside as well. I think you'll find. Over to 6th goes Dyke. The first mistake we've seen in 35 laps from Rainer Costello.
Once again, I think a little bit of good presence of mind there by Rainer. I think once he knew he's in trouble there, Jamie Dyke's right beside him, and he hasn't fought that. He's just said, okay, take it, and we'll race on.
I'll get you back later. Oh boy. A finish here is just so critically important for Rainer Costello. With no Dylan Rudd tonight, Rehan Leonage is on track to be the championship leader, but Rainer would be second. And how good of a storyline would that be for the narrative of this championship to have the two young guns 11 and 16, vying for the title with 7 rounds to go. And so much groundwork to be plowed through before we get to the mountain. As I said, you know, across the course of this championship, when you look at the 200 and the 250 kilometre races and the 160s, etc. and so forth, these guys are going to do well in excess of around 2,700 kilometres throughout the course of this championship. I will calculate the full mathematics on it and come back to you folks, but it's an extraordinary amount of work that these guys have got to put in this championship campaign, and in such a short period as well. It's 11 weeks and 5 days between the start of the championship and the Bathurst 1000. So what's that? 82 days. It's well, actually, it's not even that really. It's 10, so it's 75 days, I should say, not 82, 75 days between first and last, and that's a lot of hard yakka, isn't it, JP?
Yeah, absolutely. We keep these guys on their toes for the series, and we've tightened up the points as well this season. So, whereas in past seasons we've given the drivers 5 points bonus for a pole position and a 5-point bonus for a clean round, from here on in they get 1 point for pole position and 5 points for a clean round. And it looks like Tommy Heyman may have come to grief.
Oh no, that's unfortunate for Heyman. He has come to grief. He's parked up on the inside of the circuit there. Now, I'm just trying to pick up if that's between, it looks like it's between turns 4 and 5. And, yeah, Heyman has pulled up lame. If he can't get that car back going, that will trigger safety car number 2 of the night. Heyman is parked up and not moving anywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if the next sign you see from race control is safety car boards and flags, because that car is not going anywhere.
That car looks like it's broken its suspension.
And JP, not that I'm cynical or anything, but look at the lap number. It's 37.
Here we go.
Safety car deployed right here and now. These guys have a really, really difficult decision to make, because we've already seen Craig Schultz, Daniel Leslie, Justin Pennyfather and Sam Noble do just what I was about to talk about, and that's go into pit lane. They're going to have, next time by the line, 27 laps to go. We know it's 25 3/4 to a full tank. We know they'll save a little bit of fuel under the safety car. This has worked for just about everybody, but it's going to be the masterminds of fuel saving that benefit the most here, because there's still going to be a little bit of work to be done there, because technically they've still got 28 laps to clock. If they get a second safety car after this, a third safety car for the race, all bets are off. They'll be fine. They'll make it to the end. But for the moment, this safety car is only going to save them maybe a lap of fuel, so they're still going to have to find another lap from somewhere in order to be able to get home under their own steam at the end of the race. But this is critically important. Safety cars breed pit stops. We've seen it twice tonight already. Into the lane come McNamara, Lienage, Borg, Pereira, and etc. and so forth. Et al, as they say. Everybody's in.
Have a look at this.
To cash in on this opportunity to take the fresh rubber.
Chadwick's thrown the dice and he stayed out.
That's a big gamble from Chadwick. We'll see if it's the right gamble, if it's the right call a little bit later on. Unfortunate for Tom Heyman. Not sure what's happened there, but he is out of business. And I've got a feeling, JP, just the way that car pulled up, that he might have come to grief in turn 1 or in the water fountain section, and then kept limping it, trying to get it back going, and then he's had to park up between 4 and 5 because he couldn't continue on any further. So we'll wait and see. That's a strange place for him to park up, when what we saw of the replay didn't allude to any sort of crash. But we only picked it up as he was exiting, or entering, I should say, turn 4. He got through 2 and 3. So we'll wait and see. Simon Chadwick is stuck behind the safety car at the moment as lap traffic makes its way around. Chadwick, the leader, McNamara, Lienage, Borg, Barnes, Pereira, Dyke. And again, let's see if we can... Yeah, we're just going to rewind this. Don't you love live television, folks? So Heyman, yeah, it's a strange one, because there's nothing there that suggests that he's had a crash. Well, yeah. I would hope there's not a little bit of gamesmanship involved, in the sense that, well, if someone becomes sacrificial, then we can get a safety car. I don't know. He got a tap there, but that wasn't enough to. It might have been enough to break the suspension. They're a little fickle, these cars, but that's a really strange one, JP. And I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking that.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you have a look at his car, he has had a couple of hits of the wall.
That scrape on the right-hand side at one being one of them.
Exactly. Now, I don't know if that would have caused the stop, or if maybe he ran out of fuel. I don't know.
Lap 39 of 64, 26 to go. McNamara, the leader, has pretty well led the entire thing, with the exception of that lap that Simon Chadwick led just now, having gone around one more lap and now provided himself with an enormous task for the rest of the race, because he's the sacrificial. He's not a sacrificial lamb of luck, but he's taken the punt to go a lap later, and it could backfire because he's just dropping down through the order. Now he's coming back out onto the racetrack. And he's going to be coming out a lot further down the order than what he was. He was running in the top 10, and now all of a sudden he's going to be down in 18th. He's Simon Chadwick. So that's one of those hit and miss sort of situations. You zag when everybody else has zigged, and you don't reap the reward.
What that's probably done for Simon, though, coming in a lap later, obviously he's got a bit more fuel in his car. He doesn't really have to worry too much about fuel saving.
Well, that's true too. However, that's one of those interesting ones, and I can't wait to sink our teeth into the post-race show, JP, and just find that out from everybody where they sit with it. Obviously, we've just seen some more cars go around behind the safety car now, so it would not surprise me in the slightest as we come down to turn 8 here that we might see the safety car go around one more time just while that pack of cars that were just released catch the back of the queue. What this has done is it's kept more drivers on the lead lap as well. So we've got 23 on the lead lap. Rory Bradbury's just in pit lane now, so when he rejoins, that'll make 24. The interesting thing for mine with regards to the safety car, though, and the fuel saving, how much fuel saving can you do without costing yourself too much time around here? And that's one thing that we'll find from the leaders in the next short while, no doubt. The other is, even if you are fuel saving less than those around you, in fact, Chadwick will be in a position where he probably won't have to fuel save at all, I wouldn't think, and everybody else is only going to have to marginally fuel save. The safety car is going to go around one more time. How much can you make it work to your advantage if the guys in front of you have got track position? Because we know that this circuit is fraught with danger when it comes to overtaking. So it's a gamble. And it'll be interesting to see if it pays off for Chadwick. As I say, at the moment he's 18th. He's about to be 17th because Chris Barnes has just come into the pit lane now. And everybody at the front end of town, all the way down to David Coleman's the only one that hasn't stopped out of this caution period. He's now sitting in 11th and going around one more time. He was out of sequence to begin with.
We're going to have to be very careful of Brian Borg there. Look at how far back he is. He's running the risk of getting a penalty.
So just again, for the clarification of everybody at home, JP, what's the rule with regards to how far you got to be behind or in front of the car? Is it 10 car lengths, I think?
5 car lengths. So you must not allow there to be more than 5 car lengths between yourself and the car in front of you. If that happens, race control can deem that a drive-through penalty. We saw it last week in the Wednesday night race with a car falling more than 5 car lengths behind the safety car. You know, whether he was 5 car lengths or not, race control might have a look at that and make a call. No
doubt. Oh, you'd hate to lose your potential to win a race or be on the podium through something like that. Oh boy. Hold your breath, ladies and gentlemen. This 25 laps that we've got coming your way, 24 laps when they cross the line, this is just going to be awesome. Safety car takes off now, restart this time by. The field is in the hands of Sean McNamara, JP.
Yeah, now it's worth saying as well, Jamie Dyke managed to jump both, he'd already passed Rainer Costello, but he managed to jump Cameron Jones in the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the field bunches up. Once McNamara puts foot to the floor, all bets are off. Have we got another sting in the tail here? Have we got another safety car, or are we sprinting to the end? Everybody's on fresh rubber, except for David Coleman, who is 11th and is going to be a sitting duck because he's out of sequence. He's still got to stop. Everybody else in the top 24 should be good to go to the flag. Let's get it back underway on the streets of Long Beach. Lap 41 of 64, 24 to go. McNamara and Leonage, have a look at this further back in the field as they head down to turn 1. Now, I think that was Brenton Nitschke. Sorry, Brian Good. I keep getting them mucked up, but it's only because I couldn't pick up the number. Through they go. Oh, geez, Good was close to the wall there. He's just been passed by Jamie Davis. The 92 of Jamie Davis is up into 14th. There is Cameron Jones under pressure from Rainer Costello. Dykes made a good restart, so has Pereira. Borg is right on the tail of Leonage, and Leonage can't quite go with McNamara at this point. And Sean McNamara has driven such a beautiful race to this point. Let's see if he can finish it off. Couple of cars scraping walls, left, right, centre throughout this restart, but relatively clean at the front. Down the inside, Jamie Dyke on Dylan Pereira. Not yet. Pereira holds him at bay, keeps him there. Now Dyke right around the outside through 9 into 10, puts himself on the inside for 11. Jamie Dyke moves into 4th, takes Cameron Jones with him. Unfortunately for Pereira, he got muscled out there and it balked him, and Jones is going to have a run on the inside, but that's going to put him on the outside for 1 as they head down to turn 1 and the braking zone. The duel, Jones around Pereira, job done. He's covered him off. Costello the next target, Doc clips the wall. Right too deep under brakes, clips the wall. He's bounced off okay. He's got a chasing pack all over the back of him. Like bees around the honeypot, they're swarming. And now Dyke is swerving, trying to see if there's any suspension damage from that hit. But he's okay now. We right on board with Jones. Pereira, I should say. Costello down the inside. Gotcha. Pereira muscled out. Costello moves up into position number 6. Great charge from Rayner. Second in the championship. Looking good for him at the end of this round. Given that we don't have Dylan Rudd. Championship defining moment, that in its own right. How good's the quality of racing been? We've had a couple of incidents. And a couple of drivers are very much out of business as a result of those. But none of our key championship contenders that started the race. Into turn 11 again. Dyke, Jones, Costello, Pereira, Bailey, Vella, Delaney. That's the pack. It's 4th through 10th. Behind them is David Coleman, who's got David Kirby, Dean Power, and Jamie Davis for company. But those 3 are good to go to the end, whereas Coleman will have to stop again. He'll be in his window in the next 4 to 5 laps. Dyke a lot cleaner through turn 1 that time. 43 of 64, 2/3 race distance. 22 to go on the streets of California. Geez, how lucky are the Californians? They've got some great racetracks. They've got the Auto Club Speedway, which is great for, of course, IndyCar racing and NASCAR. They've got Long Beach. Then they've got, obviously, the Laguna Seca Raceway up there in Monterey. They've got a very good catalogue of racetracks of the Californians, no doubt about that. He's Rainer Costello in the meantime.
Yeah, Jamie Dyke just outbraked himself going into that corner.
So Jamie Dyke, whilst we were looking at another battle, has fallen in behind both Rainer Costello and Cameron Jones, who are now sitting 4th and 5th in the top 10, in the top 5 more specifically. Sean McNamara, fastest lap of the race, 1:19.33. Jones is under tremendous pressure from Costello here. 4th is good enough for Costello. He'll be ahead of Brian Borg in the points race. He'll be further behind Rehan Leonage, but he'll be ahead of Dylan Rudd. The championship leader missing from the grid tonight. It's a big story. It's a big talking point because it's an 11-round series. All points count, and Rudd's on the back foot from next week. And we'll hopefully see him back on the grid as we head to Coda.
And have a
Here
look
they
at that.
come again.
Have a look at that track map.
Oh, yeah. It's busy, isn't it? It's like gridlock, isn't it? On the CBD roads in Sydney.
Yeah, looks like Albert Street at 4:30.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, dear. Down the back straight they go. Great to have you company wherever you're tuning in around Australia. Hope you can, and New Zealand, of course. We've got some New Zealanders tuning in. Hope you can stick with us right through. I know it's going to be a late finish for those of you across the ditch. It's 20 to midnight over there. 20 to 10 Australian Eastern Daylight Time. 20 to 7 for those of you in the West. At least you get to watch it in prime time. Nice move, Simon Chadwick. Can he get it done? No. Couldn't cover it off. Roman releases himself. Brian Good, Simon Chadwick, Dean Alessi, the battle you're watching there, and Justin Pennefather and Sarah Noble in close pursuit as well, JP, as David Coleman comes to the pits. The question is, why didn't he do it during the safety car?
Yeah, look, that's a question that only David can answer. Oh, look at this.
Whoa! Chadwick scrapes the wall. I tell you what, this has been good to watch. A hip and shoulder battle between Brian Good and Simon Chadwick.
Brian Good said, I'm on to you, and no, you're not going to get past me there.
Not yet anyway. He might get by another time round, but he's going to have to do it a little bit more forcefully, I think. No, Chadwick continues to apply the pressure. At the back of that battle is Sam Noble. Our timing screen, folks, we'll try and show you as much of it as we can, but our timing screen is lit up yellow and orange at the moment. Good, a shocking run off turn 8. Chadwick down the inside and covers it off on the run to 9. Chadwick moves up into 15. It's not going to be easy from here because he's lost a lot of ground to the cars in front. Back at the front in the meantime. Have a look at this. A three-way fight for the race win. It's McNamara, Leonage and Borg. They've gapped Cameron Jones and Rainer Costello, who will be left to fight for the minors. 4th and 5th at this point in time. Back we then go to David Kirby in 10th, under pressure from Dean Powell and Jared Bailey. Powell sitting there in 11th, having a good run.
Fantastic
Jamie
comeback
Davis
from
is 13th.
Powell there.
Yeah, absolutely.
He started from pit lane for impeding in his qualifying session, so he's done really well to get to 11th.
Indeed he has. We're watching Rainer Costello at the moment here, just having a look actually at the iRacing server. Last time by the line was 1 hour and 6 minutes and 10 seconds, and they've still got 18 laps to go after the one they're on now. This race will run to around 90 odd minutes for you, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to stick around because there will be a post-race show after that. So what have we got? We've got 18 to go this time by the line. We're getting 3 laps every 4 minutes. So that's going to give you 24 minutes or so thereabouts of racing. So it'll be about 91, 92 minutes worth of action. Bang for your buck tonight. And what bang for your buck it's been. This has been intense from the outset. And Cameron Jones remains under pressure from Rainer Costello. Hey, JP, I think now's a good time, considering we've got 18 to go. Let's jump on board and crank up the volume if we can one last time. I don't care who with, because it's an awesome fight to have a look at. We'll jump on board with Sean McNamara here, who's still under pressure from Rehan Leonage and Brian Borg. He's not skipping away. Let's ride on board with the race leader, the 951. So next time by the line, we'll enter the final quarter of the race, ladies and gentlemen. This is that quarter of the race where if iRacing had a red flag option and the track was blocked, the race would be over because we'd have completed 75% race distance. But iRacing hasn't progressed to that level just yet. 75% of the race down, 25 to go. And Sean McNamara continues to lead ahead of Rehan Leonage and Brian Borg. Back we go to this battle between Brian Good. How good's he been tonight, if you'll pardon the pun? Daniel Lessie, Justin Pennyfather, Sam Noble and Matthew Scholes in behind. But we've got breaking news regarding Matthew Scholes. He's got a drive-through penalty, the 6:05. A car contact on Michael Angus a couple of laps ago. That was news on your screen whilst we were cranking up the volume there for you. In the meantime, back to Cameron Jones. Still under pressure from Rainer Costello. Now, also other news as well from pit lane. We can tell you that Tom Heyman's out, Robert Crisdale's out, Peter Crossingham's out, Brenton Nitschke's out. David Nash is still sitting in pit lane, has been for 3.5 minutes. He just needs to get back out on the track and get another 4 laps in the book to get to 75. Sorry, no, he's only completed 42. So 6 laps in the book, and he will be classified as a finisher. Hayden Norris is still out there, but 4 laps down. So far, we've got 27 cars still on the track. And David Nash and Rick Sibber are sitting in pit lane. Sibber's been out of the race for a long time. Nash, I'm not sure whether he's going to be able to get back in amongst it or not. But still, not a bad finishing rate, despite all the attrition we've seen. 24 still on the lead lap at this point, which is awesome stuff. Down to turn 9 we go once more. That is Sam Noble in 18th. He's got Justin Pennyfather and Dean Alessi all over him like a rush. So it's Pennyfather just in front, Dean Alessi in behind. He's Piggy in the middle at this point. Unfortunately, is Sam Noble. Down the main straight. Everyone's good to go to the end. McNamara is doing a tremendous job, JP, of just orchestrating this from the front.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of these guys have not had a rest all race long.
And that goes to race control, commentary, and drivers as well. And no doubt they're the guys calling the shots for them from a team's perspective as well, because we do know that a lot of these guys opt to have someone in their ear helping coach them through the race. Back to Simon Vella in 8th. That's been an impressive run from Vella tonight. Up 20 positions, more than anybody on the racetrack. He has come from 28th to 8th. Simon Vella is on the precipice of a top 10 finish here, and one that'll be richly deserved. I mean, especially when you can somehow manage to keep your nose relatively clean and move through the field on a track that, I mean, overtaking isn't favourable. It's probably better than Hungary, but it's still not favourable because it's a street circuit. Oh, no! The front end of the... just can't pick up who we've got there at the moment. It's Jared Bailey. The front end of the number 9 is looking very much worse for wear. He's been able to pull it out from the tyre wall there at turn 9. But Bailey, who was running in the top 10, is now in 20th. Let's have a look at this again. He's locked it up and gone smack bang into the wall. He was in the top 10 in the early part of the race. He's slowly but surely slipped down through the field as the night's gone on. Now he's 20th and in all sorts of trouble because that front end has taken another big hit. Wow. McNamara and Leonage bogged the top 3. That remains status quo. Jones, Costello, Dyke, Pereira back in 7th. It's just not going to be Pereira's night, but at least he's going to net some championship points and a decent finish. He'll be happy about that. That's the consolation out of everything that's unfolded so far to this point of the season. We are in round 4, remembering, of 11, and Pereira had a shocking first 2 weeks. And he had pace tonight. In fact, he was top of practice, ladies and gentlemen, before the qualifying session got underway. Not too many laps were clocked in practice. It was only a short, sharp 10-minute session, but Pereira was top of the timesheets in all of that. And he had an all right starting position as well. He was 3rd fastest on the grid for this race tonight. Now, just having a look down through, Simon Chadwick is back to 13th. So I mentioned that we'd keep an eye on his progress. He's got back to 13th despite the out of sequence pit stop there. Whether that's going to mean that he can still end up in the top 10, probably not, because Jamie Davis is about through 5 seconds down the road. So that ain't going to happen, unfortunately. Ben Morris and Tom Heyman, difficult night at the office for them. They started 9th and 10th, respectively. They have not been able to finish. Relatively simple to put it in the context for you. Sean McNamara started first runs first. Rehan Leonage started second runs second. Brian Borg started fourth. Cameron Jones started fifth. Rainer Costello started sixth. They've all moved up one place. Jamie Dyke started eighth, sits in sixth at the moment. And Dylan Pereira started third and sits in seventh. So when you look back at the qualifying sheet, out of all the drivers, only Jared Bailey, who started seventh, he's not sitting inside the top 10 at the moment. Those guys have had a tremendous run right throughout the night. The top, normally you don't see that, JP, where so many drivers that start on the first 4 rows on a street circuit in a 200-kilometre race of this grueling duration. You don't normally see that sort of consistency where 7 of the top 8 remain near enough to where they started.
No, that's right, and they've done a really good job tonight of being able to do that.
Certainly have. We're right on board with Rainer Costello sitting in position number 5. Cameron Jones is just ahead. These boys aren't doing the sort of number they did on my voice box last week, but I am starting to drop a cylinder or two here in the commentary box, folks. We will have our usual post-race show, maybe in a shortened, abbreviated form, to try and get you out of here as close to 10:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Time as possible tonight. We'll wait and see. 53 of 64, going to be interesting to talk tactics, talk strategy and tyre wear and fuel saving with the guys that do join us in the booth in around 16, 17 minutes time here. We've got 11 to go on the streets of Long Beach. Sam Noble down the inside, couldn't get the job done. Was trying to find a way past Brian Good, but Good is holding on to 16th at this point. So the battles are slow but surely. Hang on. We've got Cameron Jones has fallen back to 6th. Rainer Costello's up to 4th. Jamie Dyke is up to 5th. And Cameron Jones has slipped down to 6th. That's the big breaking story. This is how it happened. Turn 1. It's claimed another one. First, Tom Heyman. Second, Jamie Dyke. Now, Cameron Jones. Bang. Big hit. Through goes Costello. Through goes Dyke into the top 5 for Jamie Dyke. First time there tonight. Rainer Costello up into 4th. Best he's been in a while. Now the chase begins. He's 6 seconds behind Brian Borg, so almost forget about that. But now Dylan Pereira's got a sniff, a chance to try and find a way by Cameron Jones. But we know, JP, through history, and history would suggest that Jones will not make that task easy.
Jones is a very, very hard driver to pass, but his car is hurting now. You can have a look. You can see it sliding a little bit more now. So, you know, that might play into Dylan Pereira's hands, although, once again, Pereira's car isn't looking the best either tonight.
No, not at all. But at the front, we've got 3 cars within a second of one another as well, JP. So it's all starting to heat up right now at the right end of the night. We've got active battles for first, second, and third. We've got a battle for 4th. We've got a battle for position number 6 as well. Simon Vella's got Blake Delaney following him through. That's 8th and 9th. And David Kirby's now up inside the top 10. 55 of 64. 10 laps to go. Streets of Long Beach. As we say, 3 laps every 4 minutes. So it's a little over 12 laps. 13 minutes to go here for you, folks. As they come back to the line and 9 to go. Have a look at how tight this is. Will this be a Sean McNamara masterclass? Will Rehan get another win? Or will Brian Borg finally make good and turn that pace into a race result? Because he has not been able to do that so far this season. He had a pole position back in round 1, didn't convert. I'm pretty sure he had pole position in round 2 and didn't convert. Dylan Rudd won round 2. Rehan Leonage round 1. Now, of course, how that broke down on outright points, I'm talking about the race result when I say who won. The round points suggest otherwise on some occasions. Last week, of course, Dylan Rudd won race 1. Rainer Costello won race 2. Rudd won the round. Borg had an absolute shocker. Is this the night for Brian Borg to prove a point? We'll wait and see. Have a look at Jamie Dyke. Trying to go with Rainer Costello at the moment.
Jamie Dyke's the fastest on track at the moment. Last lap, 120.16. Yes. Costello did a 120.19. McNamara 120.3. Leonage 120.4. Borg a 120.3 as well.
All happening here on the streets of Long Beach. Round they come onto the main straight again. The battle for fourth continues. The battle for the lead is slowly but surely firming in McNamara's favour. He's extended the buffer out by 0.3 of a second. But right now, Costello just needs to hit every marker and make every poster winner here to keep Jamie Dyke at bay. How good is it to say after nearly an hour and a half of racing, we've still got active battles for first, second, third, for fourth, fifth, for sixth, seventh, and that's the battle on your screen at the moment. Pereira all over the back of Jones. 2 wounded warriors going to battle. It speaks volumes of the level of competition, the ability of these drivers to say that we are this close to home and we still don't know. We're into the final 12.5% of the race with 8 to go. We just don't know who's going to win. We just don't know who's going to be fourth. We just don't know who's going to be sixth. 3 active battles, 4 active battles in the top 10 because that's Simon Vella under pressure from both Blake Delaney and David Kirby as well. This is awesome. What a great spectacle we've delivered on the streets of Long Beach tonight in the first round of the Dragon RC Triple Crown. We have got 2 more Triple Crown events to come your way throughout the course of this season. You all know where the last one is. The next one will be the second and final Super Sprint of the season on another famous American piece of real estate, Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. That is coming up in just 3 weeks' time, ladies and gentlemen. Next week's Circuit of the Americas for a sprint round on the west configuration of the circuit, the shortened configuration that supercars ran back in 2013-14. Then, of course, on to Interlagos for a 250-kilometre night at the office, and then on to Mid-Ohio, and then on to Road America. My apologies. So Mid-Ohio squeezes in through there in round 7 as well. Now, there's a car pulling up on the... Just have a look at that. There was a car pulling up on the exit of turn 9. I think it might have just been to let lap traffic through. That means we're okay. There was 7 to go. It'd take an absolute pile-up to trigger a safety car this late in the race. Race control won't hesitate to throw one if they absolutely have to. But I think it's fair to say right now we are focused on the run to the checkered flag. McNamara, Leonage, and Borg the top 3. Costello, Dyke, Jones, Vella's... Oh, Dylan Pereira's in trouble. Dylan Pereira is in trouble. He's blown the engine. Dylan Pereira's night is done. And a shocking season for the youngster continues. What wretched luck. What good luck for everybody around him, though, because he's managed to get it back to pit lane to park it. He will get classified at 75%, but what wretched luck. So it means we go caution free for the moment. We don't have the safety car coming back out onto the circuit just yet, but it does mean that his night at the office is done and also close to home.
Yeah, a bit of bad luck there for Pereira.
That is just unfortunate for Dylan Pereira. In the meantime, it's great news for Simon Vella because he's moved up to 7th position. It is a lucky number for him tonight. 21 positions gained for Simon Vella. Blake Delaney, David Kirby, Dean Power, Jamie Davis, Simon Chadwick, Craig Schultz, and Justin Pennefather
Have a look at it. Have a look at this.
Now, this is on at the front of the field. Have a look at this. With 5 laps to go, Sean McNamara, he's not been comfortable at any point of the night. He has not been in an unassailable position. It has been a pressure cooker from first until last. This guy has been pursued by Rehan Leonage, by Brian Borg from the outset. They haven't been able to find a way by. The drive has been brilliant from McNamara, but it hasn't been dominant. And now, all 3 of these guys need to make every post a winner for the next 5 laps, although Borg is slowly slipping off. This is Leonage versus McNamara for the next 15 kilometres.
Now,
what an awesome way to finish.
Has Leonage been holding back a little bit here?
Well, you look at the times, JP. 1 minute 20.3, 1 minute 20.01. Their fastest laps were a 19.33 and a 19.48, respectively. Like Leonage has been within a stone's throw of McNamara all night. And if he's been holding back, it might be because McNamara has been holding back. I don't know if... no, trouble! Simon Vella in trouble! He's lost 7th to David Kirby. How did this happen? More to the point. This is contact between Simon Vella and the car in behind him. Oh, no.
That was
Blake. The car in behind him just locked up.
Yeah, look.
Blake Delaney.
A little bit of... I think that was a little bit of silly driving there by Blake. I mean, he was weaving behind Vella. I don't really know what that was all about.
Strange incident. Unfortunately, Vella's the innocent bystander. It doesn't make the drive any less impressive. He's still sitting in 8th. He's still gained 20 positions. He's now under pressure from Dean Powell. Davidson Delaney, 10th and 11th. And David Kirby is now sitting in position number 7 in all out from 20th on the grid. That's worth noting as well. It hasn't been a great night for his teammate Michael Angus down in 18th, but David Kirby for the Calamari Racing Stable flying the flag nicely tonight into position number 7 on the back of the incident for Simon Vella and also Blake Delaney. Now look at this. Now look at this. It's McNamara and Leonage. It's 0.4 of a second. It's 3 laps to go next time by the strike. Leonage is right there. McNamara's going to be pushed every step of the way. Jamie Dykes all over the back of Rainer Costello as well, further back in shot. Brian Borg's out of business now. He's going to be left to consolidate the 3rd. It's McNamara versus Leonage all the way to the end. Right down to the wire, this is going to go. Leonage is going to be able to capitalise if McNamara makes a mistake. But this is a guy that, when given the opportunity, very rarely mucks it up.
Yeah, I think McNamara's got enough in the tank to keep Leonage behind him.
That being said, for Rehan, think championship. McNamara is an outside chance. Leonage is going to take the lead of the championship tonight, and that is far more important than the race win here. It's only worth a point. If he can get a clean race in all of this, and let's be honest, we'll be surprised because it's a street circuit if anyone gets one, but if he can get a clean race, it's going to be an extra 5 points, and it's going to make the task harder for people like Rainer Costello, then for Dylan Rudd when he's back in the server to catch him. So I think the big picture for Rehan Leonage here, the win isn't overly important now. On the opposite foot, we saw earlier in the year his dad, Laz, only won a championship by 1 solitary point over Rainer Costello. So there'll be 2 different ways that Rehan might play this now, but he's just unfortunately lost a bit of ground there to Sean McNamara. So I think it might be the latter. And Rehan Leonage might consolidate here and just grab 2nd and continue his podium run. It has been drive-through penalty for car 8 as well. That's Blake Delaney for the contact on Simon Vella. That, I'm sorry, is not surprising. But McNamara the leader, Rehan Leonage 2nd. It wasn't a great second race for Rehan last week, the reverse grid race on the Hungaro ring in Budapest, Hungary. But he's really returned to form tonight. And I think Road America will be more suited to Rehan with regards to reverse grid racing and overtaking opportunities and weaving and slicing and dicing your way through the field. Last week was his little hiccup of the season. tonight is Dylan Rudd's absence. That's his little hiccup for the season. Rayner's yet to really have a hiccup of the season. So it's no harm, no foul. It's going to be one of those sorts of situations where they need to make every poster winner from this point forward. But you cannot fault this guy tonight. He has been brilliant from first until last, and now he's just 3.167 kilometres away from taking the checkered flag in his first win of the season. And remembering, of course, he ended last season on a high on Mount Panorama. Maybe he's building to... Sam Noble's just come off as well, clouded the wall around the back of the circuit.
Borg's fuel saving.
He has... Borg is fuel saving. There you go. So Borg's fuel saving. Noble's been able to get back underway. We're on the last lap on the streets of Long Beach. Maybe, just maybe, this is McNamara building to something very special on December 12. It hasn't been his year. The first season didn't go to plan. The second season started atrociously. But he's making every poster winner in season 3. And tonight, he has withstood pressure from both Brian Borg and the young gun of our game, Rehan Leonage. And he's done it like a seasoned professional. Down to turn 9 for the last time. 9-5 Sim Sport. They're missing their championship leader tonight, but it doesn't matter as far as the race context of this is concerned, because they're still going to prevail, and they're going to prevail through the team leader. Last turn, checkered flag. Great fight from Rehan Leonage. It won't be enough. Sean McNamara wins the Dragon RC 200 on the streets of Long Beach. And that is how you do it. From first until last, he led pretty much every lap along the way. Only leading 63 of the 64, I think I'm right in saying, because when Simon Chadwick, who gets back to 11th, when Simon Chadwick ran around for that lap behind the safety car, he led at the post. McNamara led every other lap along the way, and that is how it's done. You cannot fault that guy tonight, JP. He was just brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. A masterclass, led from start to finish. Pretty much controlled the race.
And what about Rehan Leonage? I mean, what a way to bounce back after the disappointment of that reverse grid race last week.
Yeah, he just keeps surprising and getting better and better. Yeah, he's going to, well, we've said it so many times that he's the one to watch out for. Yeah, he just keeps surprising us.
1 hour, 31 minutes and 35 seconds for you, ladies and gentlemen. And well worth the price of admission on a Tuesday night. The Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries. Sean McNamara is about to light up in celebration. He defeats Rehan Leonage, the fuel-saving Brian Borg. Rainer Costello, Jamie Dyke made up the top 5. Cameron Jones got home in 6th. A nice clean run for him tonight. David Kirby, Simon Vella, Dean Powell, Jamie Davis made up the top 10. We'll look at the full field in just a moment. Of course, quite a few retirements. 19 home on the lead lap. 4 of the remaining finishers were a lap down. Lindsay Hobbs was 2 laps down. Dylan Pereira with that engine failure, 5 laps down, but will still be classified. Chris Barnes, Hayden Norris, 9 laps down. David Nash, 15 laps down. So he did get home to 75%. Good on you, David Nash. Everybody else will be non-classified. All the results in a moment. Let's celebrate with the 951. all curious as to how much fuel they'd have left in the tank. Well, it was enough for about a half-minute worth of celebration from Sean McNamara, and what a race it was from him, worthy of a champion celebration, no doubt about that. Brian Borg standing by. We'll hear from him in just a moment. In the meantime, let's have a look at the race results on the streets of Long Beach. Round 4 of the Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries. Of course, the first leg of the Dragon RC Triple Crown this season. McNamara from Leonage and Borg, the top 3. We know that. The rest of the tail of the tape, have a look at that. 6 Fords in the top 10, but not able to get the job done. McNamara from Leonage and Borg. Costello fought well, got back to 4th after starting in position number 6. He just couldn't get a clean lap in qualifying, and that might have been the difference in the end. Jamie Dyke was there in 5th. Cameron Jones a distant 6th in all of that after that late race mistake. David Kirby 7th, making the most of the late race incident for Simon Vella, and also for Blake Delaney. Dean Power was 9th. Jamie Davis was 10th. Over the page, look at the plethora of Fords tonight. The Spirit of Tasmania would be gutted that he's missing this 7 and 3 in the second 10 here. Fords have had a good night out despite not getting the W. Craig Schultz, Brian Good, Dean Alessi, Justin Pennefather, Michael Angus, Simon Chadwick, Blake Delaney, Robbie Bradbury, and Sam Noble. Jared Bailey was a lap down. Over the page again, it was Matty Scholes, David Coleman, also a lap down. Bruce Tunnock, 2 laps down. Lindsay Hobbs, 2 laps down. Then Dylan Pereira in 25th. This is where all the Holdens ended up. 9 and 1, the balance here between 21 and 30. Dylan Pereira, 6 laps down. Then Chris Barnes, Hayden Norris, and David Nash. There's the end of your classified finishes. Brenton Nitschke will be a retirement and are not classified. So too Tom Heyman. Over the page again to Peter Crossingham, Robert Crisdale, then Jacob Brewer, Dean Reddit, then Ben Morris, Rick Sibra, and of course Scott Bartram was a non-starter despite qualifying, and Lee Davis got 5 laps, more than he bargained for tonight as well. Although that being said, he was probably hoping for a few more, being the fact that it was Long Beach. But let's have a chat at the top 3 here, and we won't go as long as we normally do. Normally we've got about 50 minutes to pad everything out and nut everything down. We don't have that tonight because the race was 50 k's longer. Sean McNamara, mate, in the absence of your teammate Dylan Rudd, you couldn't ask for much more than that. I think I'm right in saying you led 63 of the 64 laps, the only other lap being led by Simon Chadwick when he stayed out under caution and everybody else came in. That could not have gone any better for you tonight. You hardly put a foot wrong. In fact, it was faultless.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Stunning night. I love these street tracks. Let's race on these every week. But no, it was a really, really good night. I had a ball. Yeah, Shane Dillon, unfortunately, got tied up with work. His mum sent him out to a job at 4 o'clock this afternoon. but yeah, and Dodd's got some issues with his pedals, so couldn't make it. But yeah, it was a stunning night, and Rehan and Brian were the top 3 of us were just there the whole race. That was one of the most enjoyable races I've had in a long time.
And it looked like it as well, mates. I mean, I mentioned at the end of the call, the first season didn't go to plan. The second season started atrociously, but the third season, you're hitting the post, you're netting championship points. Are you building to something special? I mean, was the 250-kilometre win at Bathurst only about 6 weeks ago a warm-up for what might come on December 12th?
Yeah, let's wait and see. It's a long way away and it's a bloody long race. But I love Bathurst. It's a cracking track. But yeah, well, the season started out the way I'd like it to, and having, as I think I've said before, having Dylan and Aaron in the team, just understanding their data and finding all those little bits and pieces that I've been lacking has made a massive difference for me so far this season. I'm still struggling in the GP style circuits, but these sort of hustle circuits, I'm starting to understand the setups a little bit more. So yeah, it's been a cracking start, and hopefully it keeps going. Looking forward to it.
I was going to say Grand Prix style circuits for the next 2 weeks, then more IndyCar style circuits, and then Summit Point, which is just a completely different kettle of fish. Donington National, which is different to Donington Grand Prix, and then of course on to Bathurst, which we all know is the one that everyone's looking forward to. Mate, just walk us through the intensity of that, because I mean, obviously the 2 safety cars fell at the perfect time pretty much for everybody to come in and fuel up. And then the second one required just a little bit of fuel saving, and everyone gets home comfortably. You could not have scripted that any better with regards to the safety cars and when they occurred. But that being said, when you look at and by the way, if you wanted to run street circuits every week, you planned the calendar for us, so I'm sure you could make that happen if you wanted to. But more to the point, let's straighten up here. It didn't look like you had an opportunity to relax and switch off all night, because you never built a margin of any more than about a second and a half for the entire race.
Yeah, correct. It was certainly, like I said, Rehan and Brian both kept me honest. I think I got 2 seconds there at one point. I think Rehan might have made a little mistake, but he closed it back up again. I think it's a track where as soon as you drop the intensity, you drop tenths in that lap. And I was sort of watching the ebbs and flows between, Rehan, Brian, and my times, and that's what it was. As soon as you drop that intensity, a touch, bang. They close back in 3 or 4 tenths on you. So this type of track, it rewards full commitment, and that's what we the three of us put on the line tonight.
A Facebook viewer question at this point in time. Jeff Simmons asking, why aren't you streaming?
Focusing on the racing, mate. Focusing on the racing.
And rightly so, because it just goes to show when you focus on the racing, you reap the rewards. And it must be nice to be able to pick up exactly where Dylan Rudd left off last week on top.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a shame for Dylan's championship. He's going to have a big battle now, trying to close back in. But yeah, look, it's nice to have a 9.5 car back up the pointy end, and the other boys had a bit of a rough night, and Chadwick thought he'd be a bit tricky with that last safety car, and it bit him in the butt. But yeah, so all in all, not too bad, and it's nice to have the 9.5 car up front again.
Just reading here, I just want to have a look at compare notes and whatnot here for me. Simon Chadwick, it ended up biting him in the butt big time. Ended up down in 16th position, did Simon Chadwick. So that was a little bit disappointing for him. He was as high as 13th, and then something's obviously happened in the closing stages there. However, let's focus on you, mate, because I want to talk tactics now before I get Rehan Leonage and Brian Borg in here for a chat. And apologies to you guys, because I know it's already late, but I appreciate you sticking around. Let's not worry too much about tonight. I'll ask you more questions with regards to tonight if time permits at the end here. But now that you've got the fact that Dylan Rudd's not going to be at the forefront of championship contention, he's dropped tonight. It's a big chunk of points that he misses out on. It's a long haul back. You also are going to be somewhere in the vicinity of the top 5 with a little bit of ground to make up to the likes of Rehan Leonage and also Rainer Costello in front. How do you guys work it for the next 7 weeks? Do you put one car ahead of the other? Do you work as a team? How are you going to play it to try and make sure that both of you are somewhere in the vicinity once we get to Mount Panorama, when, I don't know if we're going to have double points, triple points, whatever the case may be, because it is such a long race, when the title's on the line and you guys are going to be right in the mix. How do you play it to make sure that you can set it up as best as possible for December 12th?
Yeah, I think ultimately it comes down to qualifying, doesn't it? I've never had team orders in the team. Even championship season, there was no team orders. It was race on. So, if someone's quicker, they'll be in front. If there's an opportunity to score some points and move some stuff around, we might do it. But realistically, we're here to race, and Dylan's still in a slightly different league to me at the moment. So he'll fight on, and the rest of the boys are doing their thing. So I think everyone from our team, but also in the league, we've all got our niche. We all have our pace. So let's get on with it, and let's pans out at the end of Bathurst.
Indeed. Stay there for me, Macro. I'm coming back to you shortly. Rehan Leonage and Brian Borg are with me. I'm going to start with Brian. Just one question first up, then I'll go to Rehan, mate. We believe you were fuel saving towards the end.
I wasn't. I was. I wanted to just let the tyres cool down a bit, and also let Rehan have the opportunity to have a crack at Sean, because obviously if I'm behind attacking behind Rehan, he's looking in the mirror and trying to, he's more looking in the mirror than getting an opportunity at Sean. So I let Rehan have a couple laps with Sean, but again, like what Sean said, this track is all about commitment. And as soon as you let as soon as I let my tires cool down, that's it. They never got back up to temp.
It's interesting that you say that because that opens up a different can of worms there. One, had you conceded, like because of your tyre wear, had you conceded defeat on being able to make a move on Rehan yourself?
My tire wear wasn't bad when I decided to drop off from Rehan. We probably had all the same. The point that I'm trying to make is I wanted Rehan to have the opportunity to attack instead of just looking in the mirrors, which then would have thrown up a little bit more works in the spanners. Like they could have got together and I could have, got the win. But,
Ah, right. I was wondering what the side motion was there because I was like, hang on, you guys aren't teammates, so what's the motive there? But you were hoping that if he focused on the attack rather than the defense, that both of them might slip up.
and it's one of those tracks where if you're going to make a move, like, the whole three of us did not make a mistake the whole race. So to make the move, you have to make a dive for it or something. And yeah, I was thinking about a clean race, which I think I got. So at the end of the day, I got the 5 points in the other way.
No doubt I'll get a message from JP very shortly before the points come up on screen as to who and how many drivers picked up a clean race there tonight. Stay with me, Brian. I'm going to come back to you in a moment, mate. Still lots to talk to you about. Rehan Leonage, well done. Awesome performance. You left everything out there, mate. Nothing on the table in trying to find a way past Sean. But in netting second, thinking bigger picture, you are the championship leader in the absence of Dylan Rudd, mate. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, with the trying to make a move on Sean was very tricky because we had to really think about the long run, like the championship, and if I could have made a mistake, like what could happen? Could have tangled up, screwed up both of our races, and that could have been the end of the championship for both of us. So I just thought about the long game a little bit more, and also thought about trying to keep that clean race as well. But other than that, it was just trying to keep consistent, not making any mistakes.
Exactly right, mate. Must be nice too to put the horrendous headaches of the second race from last week behind you and get back into the swing of things and on the podium again.
Oh yeah, it was most